Good afternoon, everyone. It looks like everybody that was in the waiting room is now has joined. So we'll get started. Hi, I'm Misty Woods with the Department of Education, and we're going to be going over the February monthly call today. But before we get started, I just wanted to make everyone aware we have been having network issues all day here at the department. So if for some reason we happen to get disconnected, we will just send the slides out and get the slides posted. Hopefully we won't get disconnected, but I just wanted to put that out there. So if you, for some reason, you see something happen, it's because of our network issues that we're having. So let's get started. All right, so today's agenda, we're going to cover and go over some reminders about the 2023 and the 2024 equipment grant. We're going to go over some health inspection reminders, and then we're going to briefly do a comparison about SSO versus SFSP. Then we're going to go over that Buy American tracking tool again. Then we're going to talk about the current proposals that are in Congress. We're going to go over the memos since the January monthly call, or January state update, I should say. Then we're going to recognize the new Healthy Meal Incentives Awards that have been received, and then we're going to go over some upcoming trainings and events. All right, so let's first talk about the 23 and 24 equipment grants. So if you received a notification about a third allocation for the 2023 equipment grant, those emails were emailed to the authorized rep on December 17th. This is probably the first time in a very long time we've had to do a third allocation. Basically, what it means is we allocated funds. They weren't used in the first allocation, so we allocated more funds. And then they still weren't used up, so we allocated a third amount of funds. In this situation, the 2023 grant, make sure that these funds, if you were awarded that third allocation, that you obligate those funds by March 17th, and you need to email that purchase order or invoice for each piece of equipment that you were awarded to Stacy Griffin. And you also need to complete that online request for funding on the CNP website. So that is for the 2023 grant. And because we have two grants overlapping now for the 2024 equipment grant, those award emails were sent out to authorized reps on December 9th. So again, for that, you do the same process. You email the purchase order or invoice for each piece of equipment you were awarded to Stacy Griffin and complete that online request. And so for the 2024 grant, that deadline is June 9th, 2025. Important thing to note about both equipment grants is that you should not and cannot begin the procurement activities or purchase the equipment prior to receiving that notification award. And you have 6 months from the start. So for the 2024 grant, 6 months from the award to obligate those funds. And then we actually it's required to have that purchase order invoice because it's proof that the funds to apply for this reimbursement. Please make sure you don't purchase prior because we've had to deny some reimbursement on the last equipment grant because items were purchased prior to receiving the award. And again, this is Stacy's contact information. If you have questions about the 2023 or the 2024 equipment grant, you can contact Stacy with her phone number is on the slide, or you can send her an email. You can also email the general email address and I will get that email to her. Okay, let's talk about health inspections. So it is the responsibility of the school food authority to request 2 food safety health inspections from their local sanitarian office and document their efforts. For those agencies that fail to obtain the 2 mandatory food safety inspections, we at LDOE will request documentation from those sponsors to show that you have made every effort to comply with the federal requirement of getting 2 health inspections. SFAs should document their request in writing for proper documentation of their efforts to obtain those inspections. I do know certain areas are having issues getting those health inspections, so please make sure that you document your request. So for health inspection reminders, when you try to submit your March claim for reimbursement, a reminder will appear prior to submitting the claim, asking if there are any current year health inspections that need reporting on the CNP website, and a response must be provided. And then when it comes time for your April claim, you will not be allowed to submit the claim beginning in April until that health inspection report has been completed for each NSLP approved site. If both health inspections have not been completed, again, be sure you contact that local health department regarding the completion of those remaining required inspections, and make sure you keep your documentation. And it's also a place on our website where you go to log the health inspections, where you can put a reason as to why they haven't been received. And one of the choices could be that you requested it. So right now would be a good time to check to make sure that you have all your health inspections or that they're set to have. Okay, so we did talk about SSO and SFSP at the January state update, but I want to briefly go over the comparison between the two again. Like I said, we will have some trainings, and I'm going to go over that in a few more slides, some upcoming trainings that's going to go into more detail and a more in-depth on each program, but you can also refer back to those January slides as well, because it does kind of give an overview. So for seamless summer option, this option is only for school food authorities that currently administer the National School Lunch and Breakfast programs. You have the same reimbursement rates as the National School Lunch and School Breakfast program whenever you choose to do SSO. And you also have to follow the National School Lunch and School Breakfast program meal patterns if you participate in SSO. If you choose to participate in the summer food service program, that can be SFAs can participate, governmental entities, universities, and private nonprofit organizations can also participate in the summer food service program. There are different reimbursement rates. They're called the summer feeding reimbursement rates, and these will exceed or be more than the National School Lunch and School Breakfast reimbursement rates. If you are SFA, you can follow the current meal patterns for NSLP and SBP, but you can also defer to the summer food service meal pattern. Okay, so here are the upcoming trainings for SFSP and SSO. I know there was some discrepancy on the dates. The dates for the summer feeding training has changed. So this is the most current information, and this is the actual dates that are happening, which would be next week. So on Tuesday, February 11th, is the summer food service program for prospective new sponsors. It's from 8 to 11, and it's in person here at the Claiborne building. And this training is a general overview of the summer food service program and the pre-application process. And this training, specifically on the 11th, is for sponsors who are entirely new to the summer feeding program, or the sponsors who last operated in 2023 or prior. So basically, if you did not operate summer last year or have never operated summer feeding, this training would be for you. Then on Thursday, February 13th, this is going to be the summer food service program's returning sponsors training from 8 to 1 in person here at the Claiborne building. And this training, again, is an overview of the summer food service program, and it's for school food authorities currently operating NSLP who plan to operate over the summer when schools are closed, their traditional school year is closed, as well as any sponsors who have participated in summer feeding last summer in summer 2024. And then on Tuesday, February 18th, it will be our seamless summer option training, and that's going to be at 1 p.m. via Zoom. And again, this training will be a general overview of the seamless summer option. And this training is going to be for the SFAs that previously operated or plan to operate SSO this summer. You can register for these trainings on the Louisiana Fit Kids website. So just a little reminder, whenever you go to Louisiana Fit Kids website to register for these trainings, the SSO training will be under the school food service, the green section, but the summer food service program trainings will be under the summer food service program purple section. So you're going to register in a different place because it's different programs. And you only need to register and attend the training that is relevant to you. So you do not need to attend the new sponsor training if you are not a new sponsor. You do not need to attend the seamless summer option training if you're not intending to do seamless summer. So only register to attend the training that is relevant to you. So on this slide is the contacts for SSO and SFSP. So if you have any questions about the seamless summer option, you can contact any staff with the school food service in the Division of Nutrition Support. You can either call the main number or you can email the main email address. And as we talked about at the state update, as a reminder, the summer food service program is now under the CACFP/community programs within the Division of Nutrition Support. So if you have any questions about the summer food service program, you can contact Toya Porter, who is the summer feeding coordinator, or any staff within the Division of Nutrition Support on the CACFP or communities program side. Toya's phone number and email is actually on this slide, but you can also email the general email address and I will forward it to her. Okay, so this is also kind of a repeat from the January state update, and we did go over this by American, but I wanted to go over again is because not everybody was able to attend that January state update, and it is an important topic because this is something that's going to be a change and new for next school year. So on this screen is, I have linked on here is the federal regulations for Buy American, which is 7 CFR 210.21 and 7 CFR 220.16. The regulations here include the definition of Buy American, the required language, the limitations, exceptions, and temporary accommodations. And for today's presentation, we will focus on that exceptions part of it. But in addition to those federal regulations, we also have state regulations. So Louisiana Revised Statute 17192.2, it's about imported seafood. It basically says that no public school governing authority shall serve seafood that originated outside of the U.S. No non-public school that receives state funds shall serve seafood that originated outside of the U.S. The provisions of this subsection apply to breakfast and lunch served as part of a school food program and foods other than school breakfast and lunch. And the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education shall enforce these rules as necessary for the implementation of this section. And I also have that revised statute linked on this slide if you need to see that as well. Okay, so here are the Buy American provisions that are related to the final rule. They're all listed here, and you can refer to the USDA memo SP 23-2024, and that is also linked on this slide. And there were several provisions. Few of them had to be implemented by July 1st of 2024, and that included the limited exceptions to the Buy American requirement, the exception documentation and reporting requirements, the procurement procedures, the definition of substantially, clarification of requirements for harvested, farmed, and wild-caught fish. And then there was one provision that had to be implemented by July 1st of 2025, and that is the cap on the non-domestic food purchases, and that's basically what we're going to be going over today. So as I stated previously, we're focusing on the exceptions. So USDA codified in regulations the two limited exceptions when non-domestic foods may be purchased by school food authorities. USDA also added the first exception, the option to use the non-availables articles list as a list of accepted items. The final rule codifies the two limited exceptions as follows. The product is listed on the Federal Acquisitions Regulations non-available articles list found at 48 CFR 25.104 and or is not produced or manufactured in the U.S. in sufficient and reasonably available quantities of a satisfactory quality. Or number two, competitive bids reveal that the cost of a U.S. product are significantly higher than the non-domestic product. So on this slide is a link to that Federal Acquisitions Regulations non-availables articles list. The list includes articles that have been determined to be non-available in accordance with 25.103B1I. And here are just some examples that are included that we tend to see or sometimes see in menus or in food purchases. There's a lot more on that list, but these are some of the ones that we think more than likely some SFAs may have on their food bids. So USDA established in regulations a new threshold for school food authorities that use exceptions. The limit on the percent of total commercial food cost from non-domestic foods will be phased in over 7 school years. And this phased-in approach will allow schools to gradually adjust to the new requirements and will allow USDA to continue to collect the data on use of the Buy American exceptions. So beginning next school year, the non-domestic food purchase cap will be 10%. And then beginning by school year 28-29, the non-domestic food purchase cap will be 8%. And then beginning school year 31-32, the non-domestic food purchase cap will be 5%. So SFAs must document the use of the exceptions to purchase non-domestic products and must be able to produce this documentation as needed. SFAs do not need pre-approval or a waiver from the state or FNS to use an exception under the Buy American provision. So when SFAs purchase a product that is found on the non-availables articles list, this must be included and tracked for the purposes of accurately tracking that total non-domestic cost. However, if a school food authority purchases a food item found on that non-available list, there's no further documentation or extra documentation that is needed besides just tracking it. So on this slide is a link to a USDA Buy American webinar, and it is from July 10th of 2024. It's a 30-minute webinar that reviews the Buy American provision, including the information related to the new regulations of the recently published memo and those Buy American provisions from the final rule. It also includes that optional Buy American exceptions tracker, which we will be going over in the next few slides. The tool that I'm referring to is called the Exceptions Tracking Standard Form. It is an optional template that school food authorities can use to document the use of exceptions to purchase non-domestic foods under that Buy American provision. The link on this slide is going to take you to the USDA website where you can find the tracking form, which is under the resources material on the website. The purpose of the form is to track both the exceptions and the cost related to that non-domestic product purchases. School food authorities can input the data related to those non-domestic product costs into the exceptions tracker tab, and then there's an exception summary tab that will help the school food authority calculate its percentage of cost from non-domestic products within a specified time frame. And we'll go over that, some examples shortly. We've also added the Buy American Exception Tracking Standards Form template to the CNP website, and is found under the School Food Service forms under the procurement section. And again, this is a template form that USDA has come up with. At this point, I'm going to recommend that you use their form unless you can come up with a form. But anyway, the information still needs to be tracked. So this is what the form looks like. The first tab is an overview of the Buy American Exceptions Tracking Standard form, and that overview tab includes the purpose of the form, the background and requirement, which includes the definitions of domestic and substantially, as well as the requirements for fish and fish products. It includes the exceptions 1 and 2 explanations. And then it also includes the cap on non-domestic food purchases and exception summary tool explanation. So the next tab is called Exceptions Tracker, and this is where the actual tracker is. It's a spreadsheet, and it has some required cells and some cells that auto-calculate. So we'll go over each one of the columns of this tracker. So column A is just basically a running count of the items. Column B, if you are able to list a school name here, you can if it's relevant. Column C is for the invoice number if you have an invoice number. Column D is where you're going to enter in the invoice date. Column E is going to ask you for the origin of the invoice, so you're going to enter in the source or the origin of the invoice, for example, the vendor name. And then in column F, you're going to enter in the product description. So in column G, it asks for the most appropriate food component. So there's a drop-down box for you to choose from. You can choose fruit, vegetable, grains, meat alternate, milk, multi-component, and other. In column H, it asks you to confirm that the product is non-domestic. So you will select non-domestic from the drop-down box. And again, you're only tracking your non-domestic items on this tracker. Column I asks you to select the exception type. So you're going to have another drop-down box where it's going to allow you to select from exception 1. The item is listed on the non-availables articles list. The second option is exception 1, and the item is not listed on the non-availables articles list. Or you're going to choose exception 2, which is competitive bids reveal that the product is significantly higher than the non-domestic product. So column J is where you enter in the product unit. This column is optional, so if you prefer not to list items by the unit, you can leave it blank or you can enter NA. Column K is the price per unit. So this is also optional. So if you don't want to list the items by unit, you can leave it blank or enter in 0. In column L, it's the number of units. So again, if you prefer not to list the items by the unit, you leave it blank or you enter NA. And then column M is the total amounts and costs. So if you entered in the unit, the price per unit, and the number of units, this column will calculate the total amount for you. But if you didn't enter in the data in columns J, K, and L, you will have to enter in the total cost into column M. And then to assist with your calculations, the last tab is called the Exceptions Summary tab. It calculates the percentage of the commercial food cost from the non-domestic foods based on the data that you inputted into the exception tracker. And then it takes the total annual commercial food cost. You will have to enter that into the tool. And then from there, it's going to calculate the percentage. So the percentage field will highlight either green, yellow, or red, depending on the percentage calculated. Green indicates a percentage at or less than 5%. Yellow corresponds to over 5% and up to 10%. And anything above 10% highlights in red. So I will go over some examples of a somewhat completed tool just so we have something to look at. So here's an example of a completed tool. So in this example, the SFA has bananas and pineapple on their menu throughout the school year. Both are listed on the non-availables articles list. So these items need to be included on this form. So basically what I did is I acted as if you received bananas every month and pineapples every month, and I just rough estimates of everything, and I inputted as if I would have received a monthly invoice for those items. So when I go to the tab, for the summary tab, it basically calculates that my total non-domestic cost for the year was $15,000. And again, this was automatically calculated based off of the data that I put into the tracker tab. You, as the SFA, will need to calculate that total annual commercial food cost and enter it into the spreadsheet. In this example, the total annual commercial food cost was $350,000. The percentage of the commercial food cost from the non-domestic foods calculated to be 4% in this example. So the field is highlighted in green, which indicates the percentage at or less than 5%. So you would be less than the cap. So you would be okay. So in the next example, the total non-domestic cost again calculated to $15,000 for the year. And again, like I said, this was automatically calculated from that tracker tab. Once you enter in that total annual commercial cost, let's say this is a larger SFA and the total annual commercial food cost is $800,000. The percentage of the commercial food cost from the non-domestic food calculated to be 2%. So again, the field is highlighted green, which indicates less than 5%, so you are good. So in the next example, again, we use the same $15,000 as your non-domestic cost, but let's say it's a smaller SFA and your total commercial food cost for the year was $225,000. So now it calculates to come out to be 7%. So the field is highlighted yellow, and so that means you're in between the 5 and 10%. So right now, currently, you would still be okay because you are less than the 10%. But by the end, by 2031, 32, you would be above the 5%, which means you would have to make some adjustments at that point. So in this last example, again, we had the $15,000 non-domestic costs, and your total annual commercial food cost is only $125,000, which is a much smaller SFA. So now it calculates to be 12%. And this way, highlights red, so indicates that you're above that 10% cap. So it means you're exceeding that 10% cap. And so you would have to make some changes to where you are not serving more than 10% of your items that are non-domestic. So I would encourage everyone to take a look at that tracking form, see if it's something that will work for you, or if you need to adjust and make changes to something that would work better for your SFA. Just know that you still have to track these non-domestic products. So play with the tool. I would suggest looking at what your current year is, or even look at last year to see if you would be within the cap. It depends on basically what you serve on your menu and where you're getting your products from. Because if you don't have non-domestic products on your menu, then you shouldn't have an issue. But if you serve items such as bananas, pineapples, and we're hearing some state agencies are saying that they're seeing SFAs are having issues with juice not being domestic. So take a look at your products, see if it's something that you need to make adjustments to your menus, work with the tracker tools, see if it's something that if you need help, please reach out to us. We will try. Please know we have not received any further guidance from USDA on this tracking tool. So as we receive information, we are getting this information out to you, but this is a start. And so this means that you have to start tracking next school year. At this time, we have not received guidance as to when you're being reviewed, what exactly will be asked of you. Will it be just the tracker that you need to produce? Will it be the supporting documentation and invoices? Will it be, we don't know at that point. So at this point, all I ask is that everybody completes this tracker tool, keeps your necessary documentation that you have to go with it, And as we receive further guidance from USDA, we will definitely pass that information on to you. Okay, up next, we're going to talk about the proposals in Congress. Again, another section that we have not received further guidance on from USDA. The first slide is about the funding pause. We have basically been told that this is a statement that we have been advised to use. The acting director of the Office of Management and Budget issued a memo to the federal agency heads on January 27th regarding the temporary pause of federal agency grants, loans, and other financial assistance. We are reviewing this and all of the recent actions taken by the new administration and will collaborate with other agencies and school systems on appropriate guidance or policy shifts. Our understanding at this point is that the executive order has been rescinded. However, we have not received any updates or any further guidance from USDA, but LDOE is monitoring it, and as soon as we receive anything, we will send that information out to the SFAs. So we wanted to provide some information regarding two proposals that you may have seen or heard about regarding school meals. So the House Ways and Means Committee in Congress has developed two proposals that would potentially create changes to school meals. And for background information, this committee shapes fiscal legislation in Congress. So the first one is titled Change Community Eligibility Provision to 60%. And the second one is Income Verification for School Breakfast and National School Lunch Program. So on this slide is the full list of proposals. There's a link. If you click on the link, you're going to have to refer to pages 33 and 34 for the specific proposals regarding school meals. There's 50 pages of proposals. The key thing to focus on here right in this moment is the fact that these are proposals. I wanted to bring this up now because this will more than likely be some of the hot topics that are being discussed at the SNA's Legislative Action Conference that takes place in March. So for any of you that may be attending, we wanted to make sure that you were aware of things that are potentially happening. And I'll go over each in a little bit more details in the next couple of slides. So here are some facts and information to keep in mind about these proposals. So these proposals do not have a title or a number or a sponsor. It's basically a committee proposal that has been developed. USDA FNS regional offices haven't heard anything about the viability or next steps from these proposals, but they are working to see if the information is available. States and USDA do not have any indication on a potential timeline or rollout of these proposals. The exact timelines and potential actions will depend upon the new administration and congressional priorities. As I stated before, we're unable to provide any more information than what is just publicly available already. If we do hear anything from USDA, we will communicate to the SFAs. So at this time, there is no change to report to you on the current ways of operations regarding CEP or school meals. So a little bit more details about each of the proposals. So the first proposal would change community eligibility provision to 60%. So currently you qualify if you are 25%. And this proposal will lift that to 60%. And I know there was a few recent articles about it. FRAC had an article about the proposal, so I linked it on the slide here so you can read more about it. The second proposal would require income verification for school breakfast program and national school lunch program. So this option or proposal will require all students who apply and are approved for free and reduced price meals to submit income verification documentation with their application. This policy option would increase program integrity, ensuring those who receive benefits are in fact eligible, and would preserve the fiscal sustainability of the program for future generations. So again, this is just information purposes only. This is proposals that we wanted to make you aware that you're going to see, but at this time, there's currently no change. So next, we will go over the recent memos since the state update in January. There's 5 of them that we're going to go over. So the first is Memo SFS 25-29. It's about the upcoming CNR procurement training. So on next week, on Wednesday, February 12th at 9:30, so from 9:30 to 11, there's going to be a Louisiana NSLP procurement training that CNR is putting on for us. You can register in advance for this meeting using the link on the slide or the link that was on this memo. After registering, you will receive a confirmation email containing the information about joining the meeting. The training will provide an in-depth overview of the procurement as it relates to child nutrition program, covering key topics such as procurement methods and thresholds, vendor selection, and the procurement review process. Participants will gain practical insights into managing procurement effectively, including guidance on state contracts, common challenges, and best practices to ensure compliance. The session also will highlight tools and resources available for you to support you, and then also we'll have a Q&A to address any questions you may have during that training. So I highly recommend that everyone register for this training and attend this training next week. The next memo is Memo SFS 25-30, and it is about the December Medicaid free lunch and Medicaid reduced lunch files that were loaded into eScholar Direct Match. Districts need to resolve any near matches. The public school is Medicaid free lunch batch 10032, Medicaid reduced lunch batch number 10031. The non-public schools is Medicaid free lunch batch 10047 and the Medicaid reduced lunch batch 10044. And for assistance, you can email Jane, and they've also added Wangan, who also works with Jane and Anantha in Direct Match. So if you happen to see emails from him, he is part of their team. The next memo is Memo SFS 25-31. It's asking you to register for the Teen Nutrition's Meal Talk on reducing sodium in school meals. This webinar is taking place on Thursday, February 20th. It's USDA's Teen Nutrition Initiative. It's going to present a Meal Talk webinar called Reducing Sodium in School Meals to meet the final rule. This webinar is going to be held from 3 to 4 Eastern, so 2 to 3 Central Time, and you can click on the link on the slide or in the memo to register. And included in this webinar, there will be some Healthy Meal Incentives Lunch Trailblazer awardees that will share innovative ideas and best practices in reducing sodium and engaging students in menu planning. And in addition, participants are going to learn about the USDA Teen Nutrition Resources, the Institute of Child Nutrition Shaking It Up resources, and the Healthy Meals Incentive Recognition Award. The next memo is Memo SFS 25-32, and that's FNS announces webinars on 2 child nutrition program requests for information. There were in some previous announcements, FNS has released 2 requests for information in December to solicit public input. The first one was Child Nutrition Program's Tribal Pilot Project, which comments can be accepted through March 24th. And then the second one is grain-based desserts and high-protein yogurt crediting in child nutrition programs, and comments on that are accepted through March 26th. So FNS did host those 2 webinars, and it was for state agencies, local operators, and the public, and those both took place in June, which they provided an overview of the request for information. Normally, USDA will send out the recording and slides from those. I have not seen that they have been posted yet, but if you wanted to refer back to any of those, they should be posted in the near future. And then the last memo is memo SFS 25-33, and it's about the March 2025 trainings. So here are the two trainings we have scheduled for March. The first is going to be March 11th, and that's going to be the monthly call at 1 o'clock. It is the second week of March due to Mardi Gras holidays. And then March 18th will be the CEP population, and that's going to be via Zoom. Both of those will be via Zoom at 1 o'clock. And both trainings are posted on the Louisiana Fit Kids website. All right, so next I wanted to go over the Healthy Meals Incentives Recognition Awards. Again, we've talked about this on numerous occasions already. So the HMI Recognition Awards recognize and share best practices from SFAs who made operational changes to improve the nutritional quality of their school meals, as well as SFAs who engage students and families in nutrition education and in planning and preparation of nutritious school meals. So you can always go to the website for more information. I have it linked on this slide. And then in addition, on February 26th, there is also an informational webinar. You can also register using the link on this slide, or once you're on the website, you can register from the website as well. And if you're interested in applying, the applications do close on June 30th. SFAs that meet the recognition award criteria will receive national and local recognition, as well as an awardee toolkit that includes digital assets and travel stipends to attend the National Healthy Meal Summit, and that will take place in October in Las Vegas. So we originally had Tracy with St. Helena that received an award, and now we have 4 more recipients. They were announced at the state update as well, but I wanted to announce them again for those of you that were not able to attend. We have Livingston Parish Public Schools, and their award received was the Innovation in Nutrition Education. West Feliciana Parish School District, and their award was the Innovation in the Preparation of School Meals. Central Community School District, and their award was the Small and/or Rural SFA Breakfast Trailblazer. And then the City of Bogalusa School District, and their award was the Innovation in the Preparation of School Meals. So congratulations to those SFAs. They will be able to attend the Healthy Meals Summit in October. I'm sure they will be receiving more information the closer to that from USDA. So again, congratulations, and I encourage any SFA to apply. And I'm sure any of these district directors that have won an award would be more than happy to help someone else explain to them what they may need to do to apply and receive their award as well. Okay, so let's talk about some upcoming trainings and events. So here are some trainings that have been scheduled. So today, February 4th, is our monthly call. On February 11th will be like we talked about before, the summer feeding in-person training for prospective new sponsors here at the Claiborne Building. On February 12th is the CNR procurement overview training from 9:30 to 11 via Zoom. On February 13th will be the summer feeding training that's in person here for returning sponsors at the Claiborne Building. And then February 18th will be the seamless summer option training for those SFAs that plan to participate in SSO, and that will be via Zoom. So as you can see, we have a lot of training going on during the month of February. The monthly call for March will be March 11th, again, due to the Mardi Gras holidays, it's a week later. And then March 18th will be the CEP population training, and that's both of those will be via Zoom. Our next in-person state update will be on April 2nd at Pennington. The May monthly call will be on May 6th. On May 13th, we will have an in-person training for RCCIs here at the Claiborne building, and this training will only be for the residential childcare institution. We have about, I think, 12 in the state. So if you see this training, if you are not a residential childcare institute, you do not have to attend this training. The CEP election training will be on May 20th. The June monthly call will be on June 3rd. And then on June 24th will be the training on the average meal cost and paid lunch equity tool, as long as we have all the information and all the guidance received from USDA at that time. So this is basically the trainings that have been scheduled and planned for the rest of the school year. So one thing to note about when you're going to be registering for a meeting that has a cost associated with it, whenever you register in Louisiana Fit Kids, specifically when you're trying to pay online with a credit card, we want to ensure that you choose event registration. And I have an arrow pointing to it. Whenever you go to pay for that credit card, this will ensure you are paying for the correct registration. So as you can see in the screenshot, there is another option on the screen that you can choose, but we want to make sure that you choose event registration. And then once you click on event registration, you will see that the only option at that point is for the state update, and that there's a $30 registration fee. I believe the other option on the screen is like $2,500 registration fee. So please ensure that you are clicking on event registration. So here's some other training opportunities that I wanted to just bring to your attention. The Institute of Child Nutrition has some upcoming training webinars that may be of interest to you. The first is a CICN webinar on February 6th entitled How to Transition to Scratch Cooking in Schools, the First Steps. And the second is a STAR webinar on February 27th entitled Mastering Scratch Cooking in Schools. And then the School Nutrition Association also has some upcoming webinars that may be of interest to you. The first webinar is on February 5th, and that one's called Making Breakfast Epic with Peanuts. And the second webinar is on February 12th, and that one's entitled School Meal Advocacy in 2025. So if you are interested in attending one of those webinars, please click on the link and you can register for those webinars. National School Breakfast Week is coming up. It is March 3rd to the 7th. It always seems to fall around Mardi Gras. This year, the theme is Clue into School Breakfast. And for more information about the National School Breakfast Week, you can visit the School Nutrition Association website. And for those of you that may not be familiar, National School Breakfast Week celebrates the importance of a nutritious school breakfast in fueling students for success. This special observance during the first week of March celebrates the National School Breakfast Program and the many ways it gives kids a great start to every day. And by celebrating the National School Breakfast Week every year, we're encouraging all schools to recognize the importance of healthy start to the day for fueling a child's academic success. I would also ask that if anybody has any type of celebrations planned or any type of planning that for National School Breakfast Week, please let us know here at the state agency. Many occasions, USDA regional office, sometimes national office, will even ask for us to see a list of schools that are doing something or have an event because they would like to attend and just to have a presence there. So if you are planning something, please let us know a date and location so that we can pass that information on to them rather than us having to call at the last minute to try to see where we can send them to basically just see what's going on. And last thing I want to go over is we want your feedback on current and upcoming trainings. We're going to be working on next school year's training topics and schedule in the very near future. And in the past, we were able to send out like polls and like some type of like basically a poll, well, a survey for lack of better words. And it's not as simple to do that anymore. There's some approval that has to take place here at the department. So we added a QR code to the January state update slides. I believe it was the second to last slide. If you haven't been able to put your input in or answer the questions yet, can you please go to the slides that are posted on Louisiana Fit Kids and scan that QR code and provide your input? It's like 10 questions, basically asking what type of format you like, when do you like it, how often do you like it, what training topics would you like to see? Because we basically want to see what SFAs like and don't like so we can cater to your needs and your wants for upcoming training. So again, that QR code can be found on the January state update slides. And those have been posted on Louisiana Fit Kids. All right, so with that, I will open up the chat to see if we have any questions that I may be able to answer. Okay, so we had a couple of questions about the equipment grant, but those have been answered. We do have a question about health inspections, how they are automated on LDH. If you know that you're expected to receive, they normally come probably every 3 to 4 months, in my experience at least. Just make sure that by the time it comes time to put your claims in for March and April, that if your health inspections have not been received, that you document that you are requesting that you need a second health inspection if you didn't already receive it. We do have a question about the due dates for applications. Originally, it was scheduled to be due in February. That has not changed. That has changed. The due dates have not been set yet. We will go over those due dates in the trainings for the summer feeding. So yes, we do not. That important dates, I think if they're still posted, we may have taken them down off the website because we did have some changes. But I will double check on that for you. The slides for this presentation I will be sending to Pennington this afternoon. Normally they were posted within a couple of days. Yes, CC, some of them are 6 months, but if SFAs have Head Start or pre-Ks on their campus, more than likely the health department is coming every 3 to 4 months. But yes, they usually schedule for like twice every 6 months for the year. Okay, if no one has any more questions in the chat, you can always give us a call, 225-342-9661, or you can email the general email address, childnutritionprograms@la.gov, and we will get the information returned to you, hopefully with an answer. Again, any changes, upcoming changes in Congress and anything like that, as soon as we receive guidance from our regional office or national office with USDA that will affect you in any way, we will send that information out to you. Okay, with that, I will end today's monthly call and I will see a good bit of you next week at the summer feeding trainings. Everyone enjoy the rest of your day.